A very good morning and thank you so much for choosing the agenda this morning. My name is Aldrin Simpier and of course we're live from the AGOA Summit. It is the 3-day summit which concludes of course today, but later on we will hear from the Minister of Trade and Industry, Minister Patel, around some of the conclusions as well as the resolutions in relation to the reauthorization of the AGOA Summit. The main issue of course is the extension, but that extension is also dependent on what Congress would say, the US Congress. And speaking about the U.S. Congress, a Republican representative, that is Senator James E. Reach, has now written to the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, questioning the Biden administration's decision to go ahead with hosting the event here in South Africa, considering South Africa's non-alignment stance when it comes to the Russian invasion in Ukraine. And now also James has included the decision on where South Africa stands when it comes to the Palestinian question. And remember that call that the Minister of International Relations, Dr. Naledi Pandor, had with the representative of Hamas. So those are the issues that are being questioned. And of course, Congress would have to give the green light on whether there will be a reauthorization of the AGOA, which is an agreement that includes a couple of African countries on the sub-Saharan sphere of the African continent. We're going to cross over now to SABC News international news editor Sophie Mukwena, who is standing by with Mr. Daniel Whitley, who is the administrator of Foreign Agricultural Services. Sophie, over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Aldrin. We are here at the exhibition hall where you have big and small companies showcasing their products. Let's take a look at the stand behind me. We have a company that is exporting products around the world, but perhaps the focus is on America as we are now dealing with AGOA. Maybe one word from you, ma'am. Can you tell us what's this all about? And in terms of the exports to the United States of America, the quantity and your experience dealing with the Americans.
So we are SAMAC, Macadamia South Africa, and we export kernel to America. Kernel is that in that packet, and we also produce oils. We're a grower organization, and the process the nuts, and we export to America. And we're happy doing business with America.
Thank you so much. But to take the story forward, I have with me the Administrator of Foreign Agricultural Service in the United States of America, David Whitley, to speak to us. You know, when we talk about the discussions, it's better to hear from those who are involved in the negotiations. Welcome to South Africa. How is South Africa treating you?
It has been a phenomenal week. You all have been a great host. And our entire delegation thanks you so very much. It has just been super so far.
Let's talk about the deliberations. These issues are quite tough at times, but in terms of the environment and the atmosphere, from the American delegation and perspective, are you happy in terms of the engagements thus far with all these African countries?
I think the engagement has been excellent so far. I think Ambassador Tai really set the tone. This is a positive outcome this week. We're having great negotiations, great deliberations. The discussions are awesome. We're meeting so many wonderful African businesses and companies that we can do business with. I think the tone is clear. It's certainly a two-way street. AGOA represents the opportunity for African businesses to do business in the United States of America, but it also represents the opportunity for Africans to become customers and for American businesses to do business in Africa. So it's very, very exciting this week.
Let's talk about agriculture, my favorite sector, because I'm a farm girl. The issue of agriculture is quite important. But when you look at agriculture, in most cases, when you deal with exports, you find farmers, both in terms of those who are exporting and those who import products, having issues, particularly technical issues. The issue of agreements around agriculture sometimes are very thorny. Are you able to take us through the concerns, perhaps from the United States of America?
Sure. I think, again, that we think agriculture represents the opportunity for African businesses and American in business to embrace AGOA as a two-way street. Two-way trade with free and fair, level playing field is what we think it's about. We know our businesses look at Africa as a humongous opportunity to engage with African customers, provide new products, high quality, affordable prices, address things like food and price inflation. We think that some of the thorny issues that you mentioned, we can make progress. We've had some really great deliberations and discussions this week. We think that the government of South Africa has been forthcoming in describing to us what some of those issues are. We've got private businesses with us who are here on board, who are learning from the African customers and the businesses. So we think we're making a lot of progress that will advance both our collective interests moving forward.
South Africa has been quite clear in terms of a need for the agreement to continue, or AGOA to continue. The renewal is critical, and all people who spoke, including the president yesterday, did put a strong case in terms of the benefits. Yes. But let's talk about America in relation to agriculture. There are concerns and technical concerns. One thing that's missing in the discussions, and perhaps in our reporting as journalists, is the fact that, yes, the administration can be looking forward to do this. The same with the South African cabinet can do that. But this is a legislative process in the United States of America. And I received a letter this morning from one Senate member who raised the concern around South Africa being legible for this contract, but also for South Africa hosting this. Let's talk about agriculture. How are you going to ensure that the congressmen and women are on board? Because there are serious issues there. How are you going to get a buy-in?
Yes, no, listen, I'm so glad you asked that question. Let me just take a couple of minutes to try and clarify. You're absolutely correct that the administration supports AGOA and wants to see its continuation, but it's not solely in the administration's authority. This is a U.S. law, so that means the U.S. Congress decides whether or not AGOA is continued and what those conditions. So I think it's important that our Congress sees the value of AGOA, and I think it's important that our congressional members and their stakeholders see the value in AGOA. So one piece is, yes, the administration supports it, but it's also very, very important that our key constituents and stakeholders and businesses in America also see the value of AGOA so they can let their Congress know that this is valuable. That's a very, very important piece that I think we want all of our AGOA partners to understand, recognize that as part of the process.
Mr. Whitley, the other issue is that a congressman or woman in the United States has got a constituency, a farmer in the United States of America. And there's a view that in terms of South Africa, the regulations in relation to too cumbersome. And this might become a problem or impediment for congressmen and women to approve this AGOA.
Yes, that is something that is certainly we have to look at. Congress, when they make a vote on a law, they're looking at their constituents. So if a congressperson has a farmer or a rural community and they don't see the benefits of this agreement, that's going to be tough. We've got to give them the proof, and they have to see the opportunities for their stakeholders. They have to see the opportunities and the benefits for the regions and their communities in America. And it's important that some of these regulations and some of these we can ensure that Congress wants AGOA's extension favorably.
When you discuss this issue, the legislative process and concerns of farmers in the United States of America in relation to South Africa's regulatory framework on agriculture, do you get a sense that South Africa will take this into consideration and try and soften its stance?
I don't want to speak on behalf of the South African government. I think they can do that themselves. But I do get a sense that there's a willingness and an understanding that this be extended. And I do think they understand some of these elements we're discussing about what's important, who's the audience that they're speaking to, and what has to be done to make sure that audience sees the benefits of AGOA.
So much, Mr. Whitley. Thanks so much for your time. It was good having a chat with you. And let's hope that you'll be able to find one another, and also taking into consideration that both citizens must be involved and their voices must be heard.
Absolutely. And let me end by saying congratulations on the Rugby World Cup champions right here in South Africa.
Yes, we are the champ. We are. We're looking forward to lifting another trophy in relation to cricket in India. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time. Yes, indeed, these are difficult issues. We may see discussions, perhaps when we report as journalists, not really getting deep into the issues. But remember, this is a legislative process. And you know, the legislative process can be very, very difficult, particularly with the United States of America going to elections next year.